I expect we're going to hear victims' impact statements from these families. What have you heard?
Yeah, it's interesting what you say, Ashleigh, though, about being able to come out. I went in with Mo, our photographer, who you know, and that's the first thing I said to him. I'm like, ooh, my God, I'm glad that we get to walk out of this place. I would never want to have to stay in here. We'll talk about that in a second. But in terms of the sentencing, tomorrow it's going to start 9 a.m. local time here. Expected to take the full day. Could go into Thursday, we're told. If they need more time, they're ready to go on Thursday, too. I'm told that the victim impact statements will happen first, so the family members will be able to get up, they'll be sworn in, and then they will be able to finally address the court about everything that they've been through. There's multiple family members for each victim. We know Ethan Chapin's family, of course, won't be here. They decided not to be there tomorrow. And then after that, I'm told, is when Kohberger would have the opportunity to speak. And the judge could ask him if he wants to speak. The judge could say that he wants him to speak. Ultimately, he doesn't have to, but we'll all be watching closely. I don't personally think he's going to, based on everything that we've seen, but you never know. I mean, tomorrow could be the day.
Well, I know one thing, and that is that Kaylee Gonzalez's dad, Steve, said that he will be there, and he does plan to speak, as does his wife and their daughter, Olivia. Whether that plan has changed since last week, since he mentioned it, I don't know. But, you know, it's funny that you say we don't know whether Bryan Kohberger is going to speak. By all accounts, our work, yours and mine, and everybody watching, and everybody who's investigated and been invested in this story for the sake of the 4 victims, by all accounts, Brian, he just seems like he is filled to the brim with ego. He just seems like he thinks he's better than all of us. And I would be shocked if he didn't want to do that last parting, you know, statement before he literally disappears into atrophy land. And we saw, you know, BTK, the BTK killer, do that and talked and talked and talked and floored us all. How many people think that he just might decide to enthrall us all with what he thinks was his best work of his life?
Yeah, look, it's a good point that you say. I mean, they could never allow him to do an interview. He could just be in this prison in the middle of the desert. I mean, we're 30 minutes outside Boise to the south, just in the middle of the nowhere. He could just rot here for the rest of his life and never get to say a word. So maybe he will take the opportunity tomorrow. It's possible. You know, he's just been so quiet all along, and he clearly understands the process so well. I mean, he's getting his PhD in criminology, but, you know, the yes and no answers and just the total numbness about him, it's hard to imagine him suddenly getting emotional and deciding to speak. But it's certainly possible. I know that some of the victims' family members want to address him directly during their victim impact statement and have been told that that's not necessarily allowed, that they should address the judge. But at this point, I mean, they may just do what they want to do. I mean, if they look at him while they give their statement, what are they really going to do about it?
Well, I've been through a lot of these, and judges give a lot of latitude to these victims' family members because this is it. This is their only chance for true justice. They're not getting a trial. They're not getting satisfaction of at least knowing what happened to their kids. And so usually judges will go farther than you would imagine. They'll have to haul it back, though, when things start to get heated, tense, and potentially break into violence. And that we've seen that happen, you know, too. And I always understand why. I understand why victims' family members just lose it and go after, you know, the convicts. But so let me ask you a little bit about the place behind you, because you were very lucky to get a chance to take a look inside. Very few people ever get a chance to see inside a jail, let alone a max prison. So, like, walk me through it. Tell me what you saw, what you learned.
Yeah, it was something. I mean, like I said, it's beyond the guard gate right there. You have to go way back. I mean, surrounded by multiple levels of barbed wire. You get buzzed in through multiple gates. They won't open one gate until you get to the next. Then they do a search, the metal detectors. Obviously, you can't bring your phones inside. We got the tour. We got the full tour. We were there for almost 2.5 hours, Ashleigh. We walked around the whole place. It's sterile. But there were some things surprised me how awful it was. Some things surprised me, though. I was surprised some things that the prisoners do get to do that I wasn't expecting. Take a look. So this is the Idaho Maximum Security Institution. You can see the double barbed wire. This is where the most dangerous and violent people in Idaho are housed. We're going to go inside for this tour. Very, very rare look at what it's like on the inside. This is the area of the prison where Bryan Kohberger could end up. Long-term restrictive housing and what's known as closed custody, protective custody, where prisoners who could be hurt by the population go, or prisoners who could hurt others have to stay. The prisoners here are inside these cells 23 hours a day. All food and water is sent into the cells through these little doors. They can sit at these tables, but are secured to the tables with shackles, or put into these cages where they can use tablets for visitation. While we were watching, we saw inmates doing something called fishing, when they use strings from blankets or a t-shirt to send notes under the door. That's why these bean bags are placed at the foot of the door to stop them from doing it. Almost every inmate can buy a tablet to have in their cell for $100. It has music, email, and movies. And they can also buy a TV to keep in their cell, which has basic cable. This is the outdoor area where the prisoners can go 1 hour a day. Some have to stay in these cages because they are so dangerous. For prisoners who are in protective custody, they may also get time here in the library or the computer lab. Sexual offenders and murderers of young women and children can be shunned by the population here, which could be an issue for a high-profile inmate like Bryan Kohberger. Though we're told after the newness wears off, most inmates begin to fit in. So, Ashleigh, they will do an evaluation of Kohberger after the sentencing, the Idaho prison system will, and then they will determine exactly where he'll go, although it appears this is really the only place. This is the only max prison. This is where the worst of the worst goes. And I was surprised, maybe I just didn't know this, I was surprised that every prisoner can buy a tablet for $100, that they can have all the time in their cell to email, listen to music, watch movies, and they can buy a TV here, and they get the TV in their cell all the time with basic cable. I just always assumed they had to go out and they got like 30 minutes of TV time, but that's not the case here.
Yeah, every place is a little different, and I think a lot of people are upset about the fact that prisoners are given all that, you know, lounge time in their cells with entertainment. I've also heard another story which is crazy, Brian, and that is that they're watching true crime. These are criminals who have committed true crime being entertained by shows about true crime, which is just sort of an irony that blows your mind. Talk to me about the death row inmates, though, because he was likely going to be one of them. Is he going to be housed near them? Will he be able to talk to them? Will he ever see them and think, well, I could have been you, but I'm here?
No, so they're kept totally separate. They're in the same prison. I think there's 8 of them who are here. I think that's the number they gave us. They're actually kept together, like in a pod together. So Bryan Kohberger will not be associated with them. Really, I don't think he's going to be associated with much of anyone, at least to begin with. Eventually, it sounds like he could sort of move up to where he would get some socialization with other prisoners who they deem don't want to hurt him. But that seems to be a big concern, that he's going to have a target on his back based on his notoriety and based on the awful, heinous crimes that he committed. We spoke with a local bondsman who knows the prison system very well. He's been to a lot of these places. This is what he said about that, Ashleigh. What will Bryan Kohberger's life be like there?
His life is going to be a little more harsh than what it was in the Ada County Jail. When he was there, we couldn't legally say he was guilty yet. Now he is guilty. He doesn't have all that, you know, kind of back and forth stuff. He is a guilty murderer, and he's going to have to be segregated. As you may know, people in prison don't like people that hurt women or children. And he's hurt women. And that's not something that the inmates there take lightly to. It's something that is definitely going to put a target on his back.
And the people in that same prison are the most dangerous?
They're the most dangerous in Idaho. That's where it is. The facility he's in is a men-only facility, and it's the most dangerous prisoners in Idaho.
And it was interesting, you know, the vibe that I got is that the prisoners do shun certain people, sex offenders, people who kill children based on their crimes, but that over time, sometimes even some of those folks get accepted here by the general population. So we'll just have to wait and see, you know, sort of how Bryan Kohberger fits in here. Well, and I've got a segment coming up on this show, Brian, about prisoner justice.
where big, high-profile, dangerous, psychotic killers have met their prisoner justice fate in the past, meaning they did not get to live out their natural lives of their sentences. They were murdered by other inmates in horrible, gruesome ways. And I'm going to line up a whole bunch of those guys, famous names that our viewers will know. Before I do that, though, can you tell me if the bail bondsman was savvy about what the prison does to keep him, from getting shanked, keep him from that prisoner justice? How do they keep him alive from those who, put the target on him?
Yeah, that's a big deal. The bondsman talked about it, but I also learned a lot about it inside the prison. The concern that he won't hurt anybody else violently is there, obviously, although we haven't heard any stories about him doing anything bad in any of the jails he's been in. But perhaps the biggest concern is someone hurting him, again, based on his notoriety. And they will go to great lengths to protect him or any other prisoner in that situation from being hurt. Listen to his explanation of that.
He will be in confinement. It's not going to be a disciplinary segregation. It's going to be more of an administrative segregation because of the target on his back for murdering women. And he will be out an hour a day. And the former Attorney General of Idaho said he'll probably be in solitary his whole life, and I agree because of that.
So no interaction with other prisoners?
No. The maximum security facility in Idaho does have a step-down program to where they can reintroduce people to other inmates, and they kind of put them in cages in the same room to where they can talk but not have contact. But I don't think he will ever get that chance. It's something he would probably be smart not wanting, because there is that target, and people in prison don't forget. He will always have that target.
And those cages, Ashleigh, he spoke about, you saw it in my video earlier, they are so weird to see because there's the cells and then there's the big open areas, and they're almost like these phone booths in the open area, and they do look like cages. I don't know how else to describe it. And they put them in that cage, and then there's someone else in one far away, and then that's how they can communicate sometimes.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Half of me thinks, my God, how do we treat fellow human beings like that? And the other half of me thinks, why are we not treating Bryan Kohberger worse after what he did? But it is, yeah, sorry to say, sweet
when he gets
justice
the TV and the tablet.
Yeah, but I don't want to watch TV in a cage. So it is kind of sweet justice to see that that's the only way he'll ever have any kind of joy in his life, in a cage within a massive prison cage. I also got to say, Brian, that those little tables where if you want to go out and sit in sort of that little general pop within your protective custody, you're going to be locked to a table. It made me think it looked like a kindergartner's table, but with a handcuffs. And again, I don't know if it's schadenfreude or joy or what it is. Again, the sweet justice comes to mind. Like anything that can remind us that his days are awful forever makes us feel better that he escaped, the ultimate punishment, which was what he did to the kids, a death penalty, Brian, amazing work.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.